On today's episode, we are going to talk about getting yourself into position through 9 different steps. This will be an overview of the 9 steps. I like to call this the metallurgy method. When I was taking a walk near my home, I have a park nearby. I was looking over at the park and there was a gentleman digging up dirt in the park. And I wondered how he could do that. I wondered, how would he be able to just grab a shovel and dig up dirt? And then I wondered why. Well, it turns out that he had on the ground, I couldn't see it at the moment, when he put the shovel down, he picked up a metal detector. And I recognized that he was definitely digging for things. So that was interesting to see in not my backyard, but pretty much right next to my house. Someone just digging up. And then I continued my walk and I would see him dig up other things. Not sure if he ever found anything, but he'd go to one place, dig things, and go to the next place, dig things up, look at it, and keep walking around. And I bet he was doing it for a few hours. It got me thinking, though, about my transition to a tech career. When I got into tech in my mid-30s, I used books and education like that, but I wasn't really sure what to do, where to go. To use the metaphor, I wasn't sure where to dig. Would this opportunity bring me value? Would it bring gold? Bring the gold? Would it bring a diamond or silver? Or would this opportunity just be dirt or it's a piece of junk? Then I'd randomly select other places in the marketplace to try to find a job. And that's not what this gentleman was doing when he was using a metal detector. He would know exactly where to dig. He would just spend his time walking around and scanning the earth and seeing where to dig. And so having a process would be very, very helpful to anybody. And that's how the Tech Career Accelerator really began. So in this podcast, I am trying to give you, especially in your 30s and 40s, a very, very good opportunity to find the gold without digging everywhere randomly. Part of the process is the 9 steps I've put together. So let me cover those in this podcast, and we won't be diving deep into any one of them, but we'll cover the 9 steps that I've found have been super helpful to me and everyone else that I've been able to help get into a tech career. The first step would be mining. So in the first step, we have 3 sub-steps. The second step is marketing. You're marketing yourself. And then the third step is merging. First step, mining. Second step, marketing. Third step is merging. When I'm talking about mining, there are 3 sub-steps. And the first one is to metal detect. This is where you grab your metal detector and try to figure where to dig in the ground, as it were. You need to master the marketplace, know how to search for jobs. You need to evaluate your skills. You need to tap into your talents for tomorrow. You need to apply to today's jobs that you think you could get today. And you need to listen to the money. So in our first step, which is mining, we have the first sub-step, which is metal detect. And in metal detect, we described those 5 processes. So they would spell out metal. If you could figure out that was metal, good for you. It is master the market. The E is evaluate your skills. The T is tap tomorrow's talents. The A, apply to today's jobs. And the L is listen to money. All right. So In an overview, we won't go into this today, but as an overview for the sub-step metal detect, we could say that you have to know where to look for jobs and how to look for jobs. And I don't just mean job sites like LinkedIn or Indeed.com. What I mean is you need to have a good understanding of how you perform, the skills you have, whether technical or soft skills, and you need to understand how the marketplace would respond to your skills if you presented them to the marketplace. Under mining, we have the second sub-step, which is called job hacking. In the metallurgy method, job hacking means essentially figuring out what skills to get in order to get a certain position. So you have to have the income that you want. Have you thought about what income you want? Do you want a $60,000 to $70,000 job per year? Do you want a $100,000 to $120K job per year? You have to also figure out the benefits you want. Do you want to have good health care? If so, you're probably not going to sign up for a startup position. Do you want to work remotely? Again, you may not want a startup position because often working remotely doesn't go hand in hand with a startup company. And other benefits that you may have, such as, having a good culture at a company, having free time on your weekends. All of these things go into play when you consider which types of jobs you're going to apply for. So what you should be doing in job hacking is listing the skills that you have and listing the skills that you need. I would recommend that if you see a job that you're trying to get and it meets all the requirements you want, that you aim for 7 to 10 of the required skills, or 70% of the required skills. Don't aim for all of them because you probably will never have all of the skills. Also, as a side note, companies do not expect everyone to have all the skills that when they hire you. They expect to have to train you to do certain things at work that only their company does. So nobody has the exact same processes at every company. So that's a short summary of job hacking. The third sub-step of mining is Risk Recycler. Hold on to your current job. Risk Recycler talks about, it is managing your manager, making sure that your manager understands how and when you work so that you do get time, if the time comes, to take an interview. Some of these concepts come from the 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. But these managing your manager concepts are very, very important so that you don't surprise people at work. So a lot of times I've seen people quit their job right away and then try to go get Coursera certificates, Google certificates, take YouTube courses, and within 3 to 4 months, they're out of money, out of time, and they have to get a job they don't want. So hold on to your current job. This sub-step, Risk Recycler, is where I often introduce the monkey bars metaphor. When I was a child, we had monkey bars at the playground. And in order to cross the monkey bars, you were risking falling from from a long distance. And so you had to maintain a good grip on one monkey bar or one bar. And when you reached for the next bar, you had to make sure your grip on the first bar was intact. The same thing goes with when you are going to switch careers. If you hold on to your current job, you need to learn to treat that job as leverage. It's almost like you're getting paid for learning new skills. If you quit that job, you don't have that as leverage, and now your life is in a little bit of chaos. Now, you could have an exception where you don't have the need for income. Your spouse works, you have a large savings account, you have retirement you're going to live off, but all of those, those aren't the situation that I've had. But maybe you do have that situation. I've encountered people like that. So let's cover, before we go to the next major step, which is marketing, let's cover mining again. Under mining, you have metal detect, job hacking, and risk recycler. This is the foundation upon which everything else that you do comes as you make the switch to a tech career in your 30s and 40s. I would be amiss to not mention this before I go on. Most people that come to me, they have taken skills courses, they have certificates, and they're looking for help because they're stuck and their resume does not get any attention. That is not the way to go about switching to a tech career, where you do everything you can and then your resume doesn't seem to be getting the traction you think it should. I would propose to you that the person who can't get traction with a resume doesn't have the base foundation layer that I just described. They just thought in their mind they should just go get certificates and apply to jobs with a resume, and the resume isn't the problem. The problem is they don't have the background. They haven't thought deeply enough to put in the time and the planning in order to make their resume show the value they could bring to the customer. So I would suggest that this person needs to go back to the foundation. Hey, thanks for listening today. I'm really thankful that you're here. You took time out of your day and you listened to what I had to say and thinking that it'd be valuable, and I hope it has been. Now, a question for you. Would you be willing to be interviewed on this podcast? I would love to host the podcast and interview you to learn more about your situation, to tell the world about your situation, and maybe it could get you some recognition or practice at interviews, or even just some good coaching experience. What we'll do is we'll go over your situation, where you are, where you're trying to get, and I will help you on the call figure out some solutions to where you can get your first tech career in your 30s or 40s. You don't even have to let people know your name. If you would like to be anonymous, we'll assign you an ID number, and anyone who contacts the show will be able to get in contact with you if you desire. It's all up to you. Just email info@techlead.com. info@tekleed.com. I went to school for music, not spelling. I hope to hear from you, and I would love to interview and give you some coaching right on the show. Let me know. So let's move on to the second major step when you're going to make the switch to a tech career in your 30s and 40s. After the foundation of mining, now you're getting to marketing. In order to properly address the marketing of yourself to the world of technology, high tech, what you're going to need to do is consider yourself like a business. How would a business market itself? Well, a business markets itself to other businesses by getting clients and then demonstrating that the clients are excited and evangelists of your company. And other companies will see that and have a level of trust automatically. That's one major way. And so when people go to make the switch to a tech career, often they forego this step and they think, I'm going to show off the skills that I have. A resume ends up being, therefore, a a demonstration of skills instead of a demonstration or an invitation to trust the person. So if you're considering making the switch, do you want to show off skills to people and hope they'll hire you, or do you want to demonstrate and invite trust? I hope that you can agree that marketing yourself would be a good option. And in order to do this, you need to get some pieces of trust into your resume. In order to do that, you need to demonstrate to third parties that you are successful, that you have given value to others, and that you are willing to do that for the company to which you apply. So let's talk about marketing. You can do projects for yourself. You could do, even better, projects for third parties. This could be paid projects. This could be pro bono projects, which are free. Third parties are a very, very hot commodity when you are marketing yourself to become, attach yourself to a tech company or to the tech department in a company. You could do optional bootcamp evaluation and enrollment during this step, during the marketing step. You could also do, skill acquisition by just doing a project for yourself or others, as I mentioned. But what's going to happen while you do that is you're going to get skills you didn't think you needed or you were too scared to get before. All of this I call pro performance. Let me give you an example. When I was trying to get into another tech job, someone from LinkedIn approached me and asked, would you be able to do my side project? I have a company that I'm starting and I need one iOS developer. I looked at the company and I looked at the project and I said, yes, I would be willing to do that. And the reason that this person reached out to me was because, according to my LinkedIn profile, it appeared that I had helped many other people in the same capacity, coming in, helping an app, rescuing it, fixing the bugs, and then putting it out to production. So when this person approached me, one thing I did was I took the project and I said, well, let me evaluate what I could do, and I will let you know in 48 hours whether or not I could do the project. I sent this person, after evaluating the project for a couple hours, I sent this person a map of work, and this person looked at my map of work and said, Brooks, based just on this map of work, I want to work with you. And I said, well, what do you mean by that? He said, well, nobody else took the time to evaluate the project like you did. And because you took the time to evaluate the project, it showed respect and honor and some seriousness with which you would treat my project. And I would love to work with you. And I said, well, that's great. I would be able to do it for you. And I appreciate you looking at that map of work. And please send over your third payment, third of the entire fee. Send it over right away. And we'll get started as soon as you send it. Of course, that was also in the map of work. So with that check, after I got that first check, I started working and I had to learn some new technologies I'd never worked with. And that is one of the best ways that you can invite trust from the company to which you are applying, is by simply doing projects for other people and then putting their names on the project, and you'll get the ball rolling. It's really exciting to get that going. If you're interested in my map of work, of course, just reach out. You can email me at info@techlead, TEKLEED.com. I majored in music, not spelling. The second sub-step is P3 diagnostic. Under marketing, it's P3 diagnostic. So after your pro performance, that's kind of an ongoing thing. You have a diagnostic, and what I do in the metallurgy method is I continuously evaluate myself and others using the diagnostic of presentation, persistence, and performance. I would encourage you, if you're not finding the success you want, to evaluate either your presentation, your persistence, or your performance. Are you working on showing others what you've done and what value you've brought? That's your presentation. Are you doing that to the fullest? Are you persisting with your all of your work, not only persisting in applying jobs, but persisting in acquiring skills and doing projects? And then in performance, are you really doing things? Are you getting better at skills, or are you just sitting back and hoping that if you apply to enough positions, you're going to get a job someday? So the trouble I see with a lot of people is they lack usually one of these areas. They might be good at performance. They've got massive amounts of skills. And they might be good at persistence. They work on their skills every day. But they cannot figure out how to present themselves in such a way that people are excited to welcome them into their company. That's probably one of the top ways that I help people, to be honest, is just figuring out this triangle. And I gave you the triangle right now. Those 3 words: evaluate yourself. How are you doing in each of those areas? Are you doing them 100%? If you want to be wealthy and secure financially, it could be that this triangle solves that problem. And then if you're lacking on one side, the money just escapes. So consider that. The third part of the marketing major step is called lingo lockdown. Lingo lockdown, what a weird word. I got to be honest, I came up with this term during lockdown. So this is not a pandemic lockdown, but it's a lingo lockdown. When you're on the microphone, such as I am right now, you're giving an interview, you are in a Zoom call, Microsoft Teams meeting to interview, you want to give confidence to the person across from the microphone. You want to get clear definitions and terms from them, and you want to fulfill the needs that they have. So to do this, you need to get locked down, so to speak, all of the way that you talk. This is difficult. This is difficult for me. Right now, I don't have a script, and I am trying to speak in ways that communicate confidence. I am trying to communicate to you, the listener. Thank you for listening. I'm trying to communicate to you that I know what I'm talking about, and sometimes I do. Sometimes I wonder if I know, but, on this topic, I do know that I have lost interviews because the person on the other side of the camera wasn't confident that I could do what they wanted to get done. And they probably aren't going to tell me that. But I'm pretty sure that I've lost interviews due to that. How about you? Evaluate yourself. Do you speak in such a way that you know how to bring confidence and just hand confidence across the microphone? Or do you speak in such a way that you're humble, but you're feeling sorry for yourself? Or let's say you were a barista like I was. You haven't learned the new terms that everybody uses. You've heard the word GIT before, GIT, and you've never really looked up what that means. Or you've heard the term bootstrap, or you've heard the term analytics or data scientist, but you don't look the terms up. And so when hiring managers talk to you, maybe you're going to feel a little bit out of the loop. Like they're all insiders and you're not. And your face, the sound of your voice will communicate that you cannot be trusted. So I urgently urge you. Am I giving confidence right now? I urgently urge you to make the change in your life to dive deeply into the terms that people use. How do you do this? Well, one of the best ways you could do is just to look at job requisitions. And if you find the right job requisition, just focus on the terms and look up every single term so you can know what you're talking about. So enough said about that. We've covered on this podcast so far mining, which includes Metal Detect, Job Hacking, and Risk Recycler. We've covered marketing, which covers Pro Performance, P3 Diagnostic, and Lingo Lockdown. And now I think it's time that we move on to the top level of the metallurgy method, which is called merging. Now, what do I mean by merging? This will be a shorter step than marketing, just in my description. Now, it could be the longest step in your process. However, merging describes merging markets. You may come from a teaching background, and when you enter the tech marketplace, now you've got to have everything in place so that you can demonstrate on your resume that you're ready for the tech. You're ready for high tech. You're ready to enter into that market. So if you have been working on your resume and you're not considering that you have to give confidence to the person across, the interview microphone, then your resume is probably not going to be very good. To be honest, your resume probably right now is focused on yourself instead of focused on the value you bring to others. So I suggest that you change your resume to have more of a marketing approach. Treat yourself like a business. If you were a business, how would you word the first phrase on your resume? I don't know what you have, but if you were a business, would you have a photograph? No, you would not. If you were a business, would you start off with your education? Probably not. And if you were a business, would you show off all of your skills, or would you lean more towards showing off the value you've brought to other companies? I think we know that it is the latter. So that is resume refinery, which is the first sub-step of merging. And then we go on to the next sub-step, which is linked leads. All right, so dealing with LinkedIn. People who struggle to get into a tech career, and if you're struggling right now, I give you props because you are in the struggle. You haven't given up. But oftentimes people will simply rely on LinkedIn way too much to try to get their position. And they'll do the easy apply on LinkedIn. But that's not the best way to use LinkedIn. The best way is to advertise yourself, again, like a business. I seem to go back to the business route a lot with my clients because often my clients are the type of people who know that there's a missing piece. And when I give the business paradigm to them, there's a shift in their thinking. And I hope that you can also have that shift. Can you think of yourself as a business on LinkedIn? Well, sure you can. You can look at how other businesses prop themselves up on LinkedIn, and you can do the same thing. Instead of a fancy headshot, maybe you can have something that's a little more business looking. And I don't mean putting on a suit or anything like that, but don't try to stand out so much. And don't try to fit in to what other people do. Try to think of yourself as a business looking for other businesses to consult with. And that's going to change the way that you set up your LinkedIn. So one of the big tips I've learned from LinkedIn is list your skills and list your location, even though you might want a remote position. It makes you real to people when they see what skills you can do, or what your role is or what your title is that you're looking for. And it helps them understand that you're a real person when you put a major metropolitan area in your LinkedIn profile title. I could spend many podcasts on how to set up LinkedIn, but for this, I will just say LinkedIn is a huge part of getting a tech position, and you need to think of yourself as a business. The last part that I have on Metallurgy Method is, and it's the subpart of merging, is called Recruiter Assist. I have acquired many contracts through recruiters, and recruiters have been a lifeline for me, and I know they can be a lifeline for you as well. If you can associate yourself with a recruiter, you have the opportunity to have someone work for you. Now, the flip side is why I call this Recruiter Assist is not only because the recruiter is assisting you find a job, but also because you are assisting a recruiter. When you come into a recruiter's profile or you DM them on LinkedIn, for example, you are entering their world and they see you as an opportunity. They need to make money and they need to eat. And for you to work with someone like you who knows what they're doing when they're making a switch to a tech career, it is an opportunity for them to make some money. This is going to be a tough job for them to switch you into a tech career. So I would appreciate if you would have some respect for recruiters like I have learned to do and give them the time of day and respond to their messages and be wary. Some recruiters are not worth working with, but many of them are. And the ones that are high quality people. I have 2 names going through my mind right now, and they have been people who have changed my life. And I know one of the names is Carrie. Carrie Wong helped me a ton. There's a name drop for him if he's ever listening to my podcast. So, make yourself friends with recruiters. Let's cover all of the 3 major steps again. Major step 1, mining. Major step 2, marketing. And major step 3 to getting a tech position from any other position in your 30s and 40s is merging. Now, I hope this has been beneficial to you, and stay tuned for an invitation right after the break here. But thank you for joining this podcast where we went over the Metallurgy Method. I hope that you are able to look at the field, so to speak, and treat this 9-step or 3 major step approach as a metal detector so you don't have to randomly figure out what works. And by the time you have or haven't figured it out, you don't know if it's going to work. So you give up. I hope you don't give up. But I'm not just giving you hope. I'm giving you these steps. So put them into practice.